It was amazing. It was the best 3 days of music I had ever.
It's one of my favourite festivals of the year, and if not my favourite, to be honest.
It's a festival really for everyone, and there's a real jewel in the crown of the arts world in Northwest Ulster.
After the All-Ireland Fleadh that we hosted in Derry in 2013, we thought it would be good if we had a folk traditional festival of our own here in Derry. It's really been running since 2016 in its current format, and it was and is a celebration of Irish music in its depth and in its breadth, and also we wanted to showcase the diversity of the contemporary folk and traditional music scene.
To have something that has germinated, that is growing on our own doorstep, is a very, very special thing indeed, and I think that's exactly what the IMBOLC Festival is doing. The festival each year, I think, is really well programmed. The youngsters who are learning music at the Againn all year round get their chance to shine at different points. They go to the band camp, they go to their classes, and they're very much part of it. One
thing that has always shone through for me about the festival is its attention to great programming, and not only kind of bringing in really top-notch artists from all over the country and internationally, but also its focus on local talent, and to give them direct contact with a lot of industry professionals and artists who are involved very actively in the trad scene in particular, but more widely across a range of genres, right up to kind of contemporary music. So it's an extremely diverse festival, and it's an extremely rich festival.
You'd walk into the Againn, and on each floor there was 3 or 4 floors in the Againn, and maybe on the first floor you might hear a piano, and the second floor you might hear fiddles and bodhrán, and as you moved up, I was on the top floor every Tuesday, so you had to trek up to the top floor. And you'd just be surrounded by so many different kinds of music, so many different ages. It was just amazing. And you'd be going into your class, and there might be young ones in before you. And it's quite inspiring to hear all the people in the Againn, how much they advance every year and the growth that music really does give them. Asked me to do the Duncan Chisholm and Hamish Napier concert. I was delighted to be asked, but I didn't really know what I was getting myself into. Me and this other young girl, Reese Grant, she's from Donegal. We were the 2 musicians with Duncan and Hamish. It was just amazing, because it was just different music to what we had done before. I never experienced someone giving me 7 pieces of music to learn and never hearing what they sounded like, or they weren't the real traditional Irish tunes. They were a bit funky, if you could put it that way. Every time that I'm playing, I always be nervous, but sometimes I think nerves is a good thing, because I love adrenaline. I just love the feel that you get when you're really nervous and you're going up to play and you're like, God, what way will this go? Will it go good or will it go bad? It's a bit of a gamble. But there was so many people there that night, and I was very, very nervous, but do you know what? They had went through the pieces that well with us, and they were just amazing with us and made us feel so confident with the music that you were so calm and relaxed when you got onto the stage. It just felt like you're performing in your bedroom or something.
There always has been traditional music in Derry, For me personally, I remember way back to the early 70s, there would have been music sessions. The late Paddy Rice kind of kept that alive and brought bands, brought Christy Moore, Flagstick bands like that to Derry, where we wouldn't have access to that. One of the most important elements of the festival for me is the emerging talent stage, where new and emerging talent get an opportunity to perform alongside a headline act, and as well as accessing media and industry exposure. At the IMBOLC Festival in 2017, Nava, a young Dublin-based band, 2 Irish musicians and 2 Iranian-born musicians combined traditional Irish and Persian music, and they made their debut at the festival.
Unanimously, we decided, because we went with my natural heritage, that we're going with Nava.
I think it was how those 2 sounds merged. A lot of people who've already settled here from other countries have embraced Irish music, Irish dance. They are also wanting to preserve their own traditions. And so when that's kind of woven into the fabric of music here, it's not going to have a detrimental effect to our own traditional music and culture. It's just only going to enrich it.
me, music is fundamentally a social activity. It's something that we engage in with other people in a community of like-minded practitioners, and we develop kind of codified musical signs that we come to recognise as a tradition. And from that tradition then people kind of learn to express themselves within this set of codified musical signs and symbols, and find new ways to say things that in music that haven't been said before. And one of the wonderful things about IMBOLC in particular is its focus on creating that space for young musicians to be expressive, and particularly those coming from the traditional arts locally and nationally, and sometimes even further afield. So it was a real pleasure for me to work with such a range of students and young musicians as part of the IMBOLC Youth Folk Orchestra, who performed a couple of pieces of mine at last year's festival, and I have to say it was definitely one of the highlights for me of my entire time at all the various many IMBOLCs, if such a plural exists. The trad orchestra, or traditional orchestra to give it its full title, is really quite a new phenomenon in traditional Irish music. It's something that we've seen a lot more of over this past 10, maybe to 15 years. And it really has taken off. It's taken off as this new vehicle through which young musicians can come together and engage with the tradition and new music in a totally new way, a way that was, I suppose, for quite some time foreign to a lot of traditional musicians. My own background is in traditional and classical music. I started musical life on the fiddle when I was 7 years old, and then classical piano followed in my teens. And I was always very interested in writing and playing with sound, and it kind of eventually I fell into committing some of these ideas to paper, which is the idea of the classical composer that we're all familiar with. These pieces can have a life beyond that one performance and can go on very much in the classical tradition to any performers that want to take the score and realise the work. So that's a real development that excites me, because it's a very it's an organic amalgam of the two traditions, and one that seems here to stay for the foreseeable future, or I hope so. February 2020 in the Guildhall in Derry was certainly one of the highlights, not only of my experiences of the IMBOLC Festival, but of my musical career to date. I can still actually, it gives me tingles now, I can still actually hear the last kind of 5 seconds of the piece, where there's this kind of huge build up and there's drums and the harps are doing a glissando and there's this mad finish, and seeing the faces of the kids. And the first thing I did to them was like, yes, you nailed that.
There is something very special about Four Men and a Dog. You know, they started off playing music in the early 1990s when it was a really, really dark place here. And all along they've remained a constant, and they appeal to generations of music fans as well. And I think that is their special and unique selling point. They mix genres, they have been adventurous with traditional music, they've dared to dream, dared to try different things out, worked with the best, you know, from the late great Ardie McGlynn to Mud Wallace to the band, you name it, they've done it. They've travelled the world with their music as well, but to celebrate them and 30 years of the band on that stage in the Guildhall last year was really special. was a magnificent night for so many reasons, and I suppose looking back now, after the year we've had, it was all the more special. But in the moment on the night, there was a very special energy in that room. The band were extremely nervous backstage before taking to the stage. They'd never done anything like this before. It was a massive challenge to have had some of their music orchestrated by the very talented Michael Rooney, who was working with them and the IMBOLC Orchestra on the night. Going out and playing on that stage, they were playing on stage with over 70 young people who have idolised Four Men and a Dog as they have grown up and learned traditional music all over the island of Ireland. And I just think the energy in the room, people had travelled from near and far. Like, I'm sure it could have been filled 10 times over if the tickets were available. If you had a ticket for that night, it was a very, very special one to be part of. The crowd were on their feet on so many occasions. I think that an awful lot of practice happened. There were a lot of rehearsals in the lead up to the performance last year. But the way I looked at it at one point was that, yeah, Four Men and a Dog do perform like they're in the corner playing a session. That's exactly what the type of energy they bring to the stage, and that's part of their magic, to be honest. And I think you got that feeling that there was just one hell of a session happening on the stage of the Guildhall at that concert. That's what it felt like, that everybody was part of this session. And I think that was, another part of it, because everybody in the room was involved, everybody was invested, everybody was bought into it, whether they were on stage or whether they were sitting down in the audience witnessing what was going on and just there to listen to and appreciate the music.
more time for the orchestra and Mr. Michael Rooney.